This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a one-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Hey everybody, today's guest is Exene Cervenka, vocalist for the Los Angeles, California punk rock band, X. Together we dissect the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the X classic, I Must Not Think Bad Thoughts, taken from their fourth album, 1983's More Fun in the New World. What a legendary band, and Exene couldn't have been kinder to talk to. She mentioned working with Ray Manzarek, keyboardist for The Doors, who produced the record, along with their previous three. How she prefers to come into the studio fully prepared. Put simply, it was about $300 an hour to record back in those days. You better come in prepared. And these lyrics, man, these lyrics are more akin to poetry, and Exene is pulling from a lot of places for the lyrical inspiration here. This is a real band rocking out. Minimal overdubs, no studio trickery or wizardry. X are a band that took dozens of styles and threw them in the blender with zero rules. The exact definition of punk rock. So for all this and a nod to Woody Guthrie, don't touch that dial.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Exene, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Awesome. I am great. I'm actually ecstatic that I get to speak with you. I spoke about you not too long ago. I went to the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. I was giving guided tours out there, and you guys are present out there in the museum. And I talked about you because, you know, you were in that first round of punk rock bands, and your band's very interesting because when I was getting into punk rock as a young kid in the late 80s, I was passed a cassette of X at some point. And your band, to me now, is punk rock, but there's so much to describe you. I hear punk, I hear Americana, I hear folk, I hear rockabilly, I hear country, classic rock, I hear jazz, the way that your drummer DJ plays the drums, experimental, improvisational, spoken word poetry, kind of all the above. If someone were to ask you what X sounds like or what kind of band you are, what would you say?
You just described punk rock.
Okay.
Because in 1976, that was what everyone was doing. Anything they felt like doing, any kind of musical background, history, or no knowledge whatsoever of music, all went into that mix. And so everybody belonged, and it was very eclectic. All the bands were very eclectic. Especially us, but you know, there was so much crazy stuff going on, all kinds of music being played, so everything fit in.
Well, sure. And if you look, you know, your association with Ray Manzarek from The Doors. And what's interesting about that is, you know, 15 years ago to me now seems like yesterday, you know, but in 83, when you were putting this record together, you were working with him. By this time, it was your fourth record you were doing with Ray. You know, The Doors had broke up not even 15 years prior to that. And I always thought that was kind of a strange, again, association of him producing X. How did that initially come about?
Well, you know, it's funny how you talk about the passage of time. And if you think about beatniks and hippies, and then like kind of a post-hippie, darker hippie thing, and then the punk thing, it was only about 15 years.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So Jim had died like just a few years before the Ramones. But it seemed like a whole different generation of people, but it really wasn't. So in that regard, of course, Ray came to see us play, but he didn't really come to see us. He came to see some other band. I don't know who. And we were doing Soul Kitchen, and his wife pointed out that we were playing the Doors song, and he didn't recognize it at first. And then, you know, he came upstairs after the show and he was talking mostly to John, and, you know, he was interested. What are you guys doing? What's going on? What is this thing happening with the scene? He probably knew about it, of course, by then. And so that was 79, I think. Yeah. And, you know, he said he wanted to produce it, and we went to Slash Records, and they said, sure, and we did. we didn't realize what that would mean going forward. We didn't understand the significance of it because back then you didn't care about anything except the moment. And, well, Ray Manzarek from the Doors, he seems like a cool guy. He wants to produce a record. Let's go do that. You didn't think what would be the outcome of that. You just trusted your gut. This is going to be smart. This is cool. This is fun. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and in my mind, I'm thinking like the punks from the late 70s, early 80s would want nothing to do with a dinosaur like Ray. But it seems like that wasn't in anyone's minds. It was like, oh, this guy's legit. But, in a young punk's mind, I'm thinking, oh, no punk band's ever going to work with the guy from the Doors.
Well, there were people that didn't have the musical knowledge we had, or that didn't, they heard something like, this is what punk is. And we defined what punk was. So we didn't really have to worry about what other people thought. But yeah, there was that whole like catchphrase about no Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin. I loved the Doors. They were my favorite band. I loved living in Venice and walking around in the fog and thinking that I was walking right where they had walked. And I thought that was really cool. But what happened is, a lot of people just assumed that he had joined our band and that he would be on tour with us. And we did not see that coming. So we'd be playing
No
somewhere
kidding.
like in Canada, and then everyone would be screaming out, "Where's Ray?" And be like, why would Ray be here? He's home with his wife. He's got a life. He's having this really great time at home. It's like, well, he should be playing tonight. And we didn't even think about that, having him play on the record, that would be good or bad, or people would hate that or love that. We just did it. And of course, it catapulted us forward quite a bit into the realm of popularity with certain people. I don't know what would have happened if we hadn't met him, how things would be different. Of course, it would be. But we didn't do it because we thought he'd make us famous. We did it for fun. And there were good things and bad things that came out of that.
Well, sure. And I never took it like you did it to be famous. I took it as there must have been some connection as you laid out and explained. And I think that's brilliant. The record was released in 1983. More Fun in the New World is the name of the album. And I read in a press release that, it said that it's somewhat more polished and radio friendly than past albums, which I think is so funny because this track is anything but radio friendly to me. It's a very eclectic piece of music.
We didn't get radio friendly. Radio got more friendly towards us, probably, is what they really, which they didn't know how to say that correctly. They blamed it on us, but I don't know. We've never really been radio friendly. I mean, radio's never been our big thing. Radio's never really embraced us. So I don't know. I don't read those things for a reason.
Yeah. Did anybody ever tell you this? And you can't, go back in time and change these kind of things. Just hypothetically, I always kind of felt like your band was 10 or 15 years ahead of your time. I felt like if you come out in the early 90s, you would have been maybe more accepted because everything was weird in the 90s.
I'm glad that we did what we did when we did it. I'd much rather be part of starting that punk scene in LA at the Mask and exploring the country as total pioneers than to be riding a wave of grunge in the 90s. It wouldn't have been as meaningful to me. Everything's perfect the way it is.
Understood. Yeah. And I hope you don't think I said that. I didn't mean anything by it, but the fact that
you're comparing like how weird it is that people are slipping around through the universe in different time periods, and it doesn't seem like the right one for them. But of course, in the universe, everything's perfect. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not right, but you were definitely, this is it's punk at the core of it. But there's a lot going on here. Take us back to this time period, late 82, 83. Do you recall writing "I Must Not Think Bad Thoughts"?
I do. I wish I had I wrote it in a little tiny journal that was about this big. It was small. It was maybe 5 by 6. No, it was like 3 by 6. I don't know. It was a really tiny little book. And it was very handcrafted. I had glued in a lot of words and things. And it was a really beautiful book. And there are different versions of it, how it progressed. And someone stole it. So I don't have that. That's the one journal out of my many, many journals that I no longer have. I'm pretty sure I know who stole it. And so that's sad because I really wish I could show you that right now. And I can't. I was pretty lucky with my my bad choice in people that I didn't lose more stuff, but that's where that is now. And maybe that person will see this and feel bad and give it back.
When's the last time you laid eyes on it? Has it been a long time?
Yes. So here's the thing. That song to me is important because it wasn't the first time, but it was the most important one I did where I was combining the immediate, the local, who I was, who the people around me were, with the big universal picture. Because by the early 80s, X had started doing so many benefits that we had to form the Knitters with Dave Elvin so that the Blasters and X could have careers and not just play benefits. Because everybody needed a benefit. Everybody wanted a benefit. And so we played benefits for like, excuse me if I get these backwards, I believe it was baseballs for Nicaragua and guitar strings for El Salvador. It was the Pittston Miners. It was medical aid for El Salvador, which was my own personal one that I supported the most. And it was, you couldn't do it. Couldn't give them medical supplies against the law. And it was like, dentures for Top Jimmy, and somebody else was sick, and somebody else had this, and somebody else had that. And we had to play a benefit for the mask. We had to play a benefit for, and so it was just constantly people needing help. And it was like, I didn't know when I started a band that I was going to become the government. This isn't right. Why do we have to do this? But we did it. And so I was very well versed in what was going on in the world politically, because I just am that kind of person. And, a lot of people don't pay attention, but I knew what was going on in Nicaragua and El Salvador. And I knew what was going on in the Middle East with the, what we're seeing now was still happening then, just the same, controversial and everything, and people dying. And I wanted to put all that in the song. And I also wanted to put in there it's kind of like about how unfair things are. Why aren't these bands on the radio? Why are we funding these civil wars in other countries? Why is this happening? And then it's like, whoa, don't think about that. That you can think about it, but don't let it anger you. Don't let it ruin you. Don't let it take away from the celebration of life that we must all continue, even if we're in a camp or being ignored or whatever, having bad things. So I combined all those things, and I wrote that line, I must not think bad thoughts, because it's like, well, you can look at it like the world is horrible, or you can go, you know what? Let's recognize that these things happen, but let's just have some people over. We'll have some beer. We'll have some barbecue. We'll fix the car. It'll be great.
Do you remember, did the song all come at once lyrically, or did you have to fill in the blanks when you were in the studio? Because there's a lot of lyrics here. We got 4 choruses and 4 verses.
There's only one song I can think of that X actually wrote in the studio, or maybe 2. No, that's Money is Burning. Back then, it's $300 for a roll of tape. You don't write songs in the studio. So, no, I work on all my songs quite a bit. I don't ever just write something and there it is, and then I would love to have that book back, because there's a lot of things that also aren't in the song that I wrote. When John and I work on songs together, he does some editing. Like, I'll write something that's so stream of consciousness, and I'll be angry at him because he took out part of it. But you can't always just go off on a 2-minute tangent and then go back to the chorus. We're not that kind of band. We do that a little. We have to figure out how it comes back to the verse or the chorus, and we have to figure out how it all works. And a lot of my stuff is about rhyming and wordplay and things like that. So we can go through it lyric by lyric, but this is the song we have, and this is the version we know. So this is what we'll talk about.
Awesome. Yeah. And do you recall playing this song before you tracked it live?
I don't think we did.
You don't? Okay.
I don't think we did. And I think there is some sort of opinion within the band that we didn't play it live, because it has the saxophone and stuff. If we played it live, it was without all that other stuff, without the vibes and the sax, because we didn't play that stuff live. I don't think. You're talking a long time ago, but I don't remember playing it live, no.
Right on. Well, I want to jump into the song right now. There's a 4-bar intro that continues as the first lyrics in the song hit in verse 1. There's a clean arpeggiated guitar, bass guitar, and a side stick snare hi-hat beat that's happening before we get into verse 1.
Walking down the road, everybody yelling, hurry up, but I'm waiting for you. I must go slow, I must not think bad thoughts. When is this world coming to? Both sides are right, let both sides murder. I give up, why can't they? I must not think bad thoughts.
The facts we hate will never meet. Walking down the road, everybody yelling, hurry up, but I'm waiting for you. I must go slow. I must not think bad thoughts. When is this world coming to? Both sides are right, but both sides murder. I give up. Why can't they?
Okay, so that was specifically addressing people saying that we had to, like, that's kind of a being in a band thing. Like, come on, you guys, you need to be more successful. Come on, you guys, you need to play more shows. Like, yeah, but these people haven't caught up to the punk thing yet. We can't just go forward without these people. We have to wait for them, and they're going to get it. Just give me a minute. And the when is this world coming to is a correction of what, because I don't want to say what is this world coming to, because that sounds like some kind of cliche. When is this world coming to? So it's all about time, timing, time. It's about that specific thing. Both sides are right, but both sides murder was directly addressing all the civil wars that were going on. The Palestinian-Israel war, which is, of course. And then the United States in the Reagan era was very heavily involved in, just as we had always been, upending governments, overthrowing governments, like in Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, always trying to make sure our hemisphere had who the dictator we wanted in there, not the people's person that they chose. And so both sides right, but both sides murder is like, well, you can say that one side or the other has the right to fight back, of course. But like with Ireland, Northern Ireland, this also refers to that to some extent. You can't just throw a bomb into a pub and kill a bunch of people and say you're fighting the government. So the people are kind of hamstrung. They can't ever fight back against the government unless they're just like fighting against their fellows, because they can't get to the people that are causing all the problems. You can't overthrow the United States government because they're overthrowing your government. So all you can do is fight against the other people in your town that are being paid mercenaries to kill you. So it's very, very frustrating, the Civil War stuff.
You kind of mishmashed a couple different things here in verse 1. You're talking about the band.
That's what I'm. That's why I'm saying
it's incredible.
So it is. But because people say the political is personal, which is another cliche, but it really is. I mean, if you're thinking about it, you read something in a headline, but you don't know what it's like to be living in a town where you're fighting against someone that's your neighbor.
Wow. Well, those unison vocals here between you and John, they're loose, but every once in a while, there's harmonies here. It's between unison and harmonies. It sounds real, and it sounds like the band, cut this live off the floor. Did you and John then go back in and overdub, and did you sing together, maybe in separate booths? Because you work off each other so well.
None of our recordings are what you would call live. We're not sitting in a room together jamming. Mm-hmm. The vocals were recorded after the track was recorded, and I don't remember if we sang it together live, but I'm saying probably not. Because back then when you were recording on tape, you had all those tracks and channels to keep track of, and they really only did one thing at a time. We might have sung the choruses together. I don't know. I don't remember. But we did every variation of singing together, John singing first, me singing first, him doing harmony, me doing harmony, doing in little lines here and there. So it was all put together and chosen by us. The line we wanted, what we wanted in there ended up in there. So
that's what I was going to ask, was the experimentation vocally, like, hey, maybe you do a harmony here, or John, you take this part. Was that mostly between you and John, or was Ray integral to that decision making? Ray
was integral to everything, because he was really listening to help us do our best version of ourselves always. And so if we were singing together and we weren't clicking, he would say, hey, I'll tell you what, John, go sit down. You do this, Exene. And you'd go, okay, whatever you want, Ray, whatever you think.
Very cool. Well, halfway through verse 1, we get the title of the song with the lyric, I must not think bad thoughts. On the line, when is this world coming to? And I love that lyric now that I know it's when, because, it's kind of almost like coming to consciousness as well. That lyric's awesome. Right after that line, the drums and guitars start to ramp up both in speed and intensity. The guitar goes to more of a strumming pattern by the end of verse 1. And at the end of verse 1, after the line, why can't they? The snare rolls here are just epic. I love DJ's drumming. It's just awesome. And you can feel the push-pull here within the band. It doesn't sound like this was done to a click track.
No, we didn't do click tracks, I don't think, no.
Okay. That it didn't. This track definitely didn't sound like it. Chorus 1 comes in at the 32-second mark.
Why can't they? I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. The Civil War.
3 times in a row. I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts.
Well, so I wrote that probably once, and John went, that's the chorus. Let's do that 3 times. because he likes to do things three. There's a bone of contention in our band. Billy's always like, yeah, he always wants to do things three times. Why don't you do it? Supposed to do it twice or four times. He always does it three.
I'm a three guy too.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Right. You understand.
I can relate. The chorus has this cowpunk feel on the drums, and the guitars get bigger here. And I'm not sure, Exene, if that's from the intensity at which the guitars were played, or if other guitars come in here on chorus one. I know they come in later in the production, but it just sounds like they're played more intense here. Do you recall?
I probably was busy drinking when Billy was doing that. I was on my own little, my part's done. Thank God. I've only been singing for 4 hours trying to get it right.
Great answer. We're going to go with that. How's that?
Okay, that's a great answer. Sure.
The bass guitar is doing this friendly walking part, and the vocals, again, are in unison. And at the end of the chorus, at the end of every chorus, there's this cymbal and kick drum with the band. And then after that, there's this little bass guitar run that takes us into verse 2.
The civil wars and the uncivilized wars, conflagrations leap out of every poor furnace. The food cooks poorly and everyone goes hungry. From then on it's dog eat dog, dog eat body, body eat dog. I can't go down there, I can't understand it. I'm a no good coward, an American too, a North American that is, and I must not think that thought, and I must not think that thought, and I must not think that thought, I must not think that thoughts, I must not think that thoughts, when it comes to murder of innocent men, innocent women, innocent children, thousands of them, my planes, my guns, my money, my soldiers, my blood on my hands, it's all my fault, I must not think.
The Civil Wars and the uncivilized wars. Conflagrations leap out of every poor furnace. The food cooks poorly, and everyone goes hungry. From then on, it's dog eat dog eat body, and body eat dog. I can't go down there. I can't understand it. I'm a no good coward, an American too, a North American that is. And I must not think bad thoughts, and I must not think bad thoughts, and I must not think bad thoughts. Not a South or Central or a Native American. Oh, I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. I'm guilty of murder of innocent men, innocent women, innocent children, thousands of them. My planes, my guns, my money, my soldiers, my blood on my hands. It's all my fault.
That's when you're young in your early 20s and you realize you cannot direct where your taxes go, and they're going to go to all these bad things, and it's you paying, I'm paying. We're forced to pay for these wars. And so I think the most important line of that to me is the civil wars and the uncivilized wars, because there are no civilized wars. Mm-hmm. And nothing is more uncivilized than a civil war, as we know from our own history. A civil war is the worst kind of war. It's brother against brother. It is the absolute worst. Bosnia-Herzegovina war, like that, like neighbor against, that's the worst thing, is when the people in power, they take your money and then they choose two different factions to pit against each other like a cockfight, and you're forced to watch and pay for it. It's the most brutal thing. I don't know why. And so, when you're young and you're trying to make sense of this, and, like I said, we were playing all these benefits to help people. Like, we're just trying to mitigate the damage that we're doing by trying to give back. So it was a quandary. And as far as the North American thing is, because the Central American thing was really big then, with the mining of the harbors in Nicaragua and Daniel Ortega, I was doing we were trying to help people. Like, it is that thing of if you think about it, the people in power, they try to get you involved in a war with patriotism. What's like 9/11 when that happened? Everybody got very patriotic. Well, that would be maybe appropriate, or World War II. But when you go back in history and you see how these wars started and who benefited from them, you can see that it's just gross manipulation always behind all these wars. And it's just, you let people get out of control and then you have to go kill them. And it's like, well, you put them in power. You put these people in power and then you let them go wild and then you tell us we have to go kill them. It's just, it's interesting, isn't it? So that's what it's about. Like you say, my planes, my guns, my money, my soul, it's all my fault. It really is. It really is our fault. We're paying for it. If we didn't give them that money, they couldn't fight those wars. But we can't not give them the money. So that's where the I must not think bad thoughts comes in, because how can you reconcile that? You can't. You can only go, well, that's just the way it is. So I'm going to say it's bad, but I'm not going to let it consume me.
The more we say, this is supposed to be the new world.
Hey everybody, we'll be right back with lots more with Exene Cervenka after a few words from our sponsors.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
With Amex Platinum, you can really be in the now. Access to Resi Priority Notify. Yes. 4 p.m. checkout with fine hotels and resorts booked through Amex Travel.
We needed this.
And dedicated card member entrances at select events.
Let's go!
Means you can focus on the present moment. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex. Card member entrance access not limited to Amex Platinum Card.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Hey there, Krista Makes a Podcast listeners. Ready to take your podcast experience to the next level? By signing up for the supporting cast at KristaMakes.com, you not only ensure the continued production of our show, but also unlock exclusive perks. Subscribers receive a weekly bonus episode of our other podcast, The After Party, co-hosted by Chris Fafalius and myself. Many fans rave that The After Party is just as enjoyable as the main show. And with close to 200 music-centric episodes in the archive, there's a treasure trove of entertainment awaiting you. Thank you for tuning in and for your support in keeping the podcast going strong. Join us at KristaMakes.com and let's keep the fun conversations going.
And now, back to the show.
And do you remember if John just saw the lyric in verse 1, I must not think bad thoughts, and said, that's it? Or did you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it.
I know how he works. Yeah.
You got his number.
Yes.
I love verse 2 because the first line's John. The second line's both of you. The third line is you. The fourth line, out of every poor furnace, is both of you. How did you go about that in the studio, or those parts? Was it, hey, Exene, you try a pass, or John, you try a pass, and we'll Ray's in there and mixing, muting each one of you out of the sections, or how did that come about?
I don't know. I don't remember exactly why we did that, but we probably were just trying to mix it up at that point because it is a long verse and just kind of do something cool. Like, let's go back and I'll take this line. You take that line. And I noticed that when we do that song live the other night on the last little run of shows we did, John said, you sing this line and I'll sing that line. Because I think we'd gone so far away from the recorded version. He was like, the Civil War's and something, dog eat body, body eat dog. He goes, I'll sing dog, you sing dog eat body, I'll sing body eat dog, and you sing, and then we'll sing that third one together. I'm like, Okay. So we still do that, you know?
I was going to say, 42 years later, you're still messing with the song.
Yeah, we're still messing with the song. So, I think part of the great thing about John and I singing together is it really makes it easier to play live when you're older because you don't have to sing the whole show.
Oh,
you take turns.
Yeah.
Smart, right? Smart thought ahead on that one. But it makes it more fun. It's just, we didn't want to be like, I'm the lead singer of a rock band. We just wanted to have we're all going to play, we're all going to sing, we're all going to have fun. And so it kind of translated into that. Maybe we had a heavier reason for it, to hit it home or something, but I think we just like to play around.
I love that. Down here, you both say an American too. And then is that John's voice? I'm assuming it says a North American, that is, not a South or a Central or a Native American.
Yeah.
That's him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of to be like a newscaster kind of? You're hearing it on TV, or is that the vibe he was going for?
No, I never thought of that. But he does kind of have that newscaster vibe in that. You're right. I think he was just kind of commenting on more of the culpability aspect of it, As far as politics, then I think people weren't into what they are now, which is we're bad, we're bad, we're bad. Everything I do is bad. Everything I've ever been is bad. My ancestors are bad. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. It does come out in this song that I'm saying that, but you don't live that. You think about it, you write it down, you sing it, you move on. You don't become that.
Yeah.
That's the bad thoughts part, right?
Love it. Love it. Well, when we get down to I'm guilty of murder, that section all the way to it's all my fault here in verse 2. Great dynamics in this section. The kick drum work is driving and intense. The vocals still in unison, sometimes singing an octave from one another here. So throughout this song, there's just different components that are coming in. We haven't heard that before in the song, singing different octaves of the same notes. Very cool. Chorus 2. This is when I hear two new stereo guitars come in. They're way dirtier than before and bigger. I love it.
I think what you pointed out, which I really love about the song, is that the verses and the choruses are so different from each other.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a different thing for us. It doesn't just go along, and then all of a sudden the chorus is louder or something. It's like two different parts, and it's very interesting the way the guys did their the arrangement of this song, and I'm sure with Ray, to make it more, make that dynamic.
Well, and there is this classic rock component to this song. I feel like, I don't know if you were ever a fan of Grace Slick or Jefferson Airplane. I'm hearing some of that in these verses a little bit, and certainly the way the guitars are recorded has that 60s garage rock thing. I absolutely love it. Verse 3 is broken back down to that sparkly, clean, arpeggiated guitar until the band starts ramping up intensity halfway through.
Hear the radio is finally gonna play new music, the British invasion. But what about the Minutemen, Flesh Eaters, DOA, Big Boys, and the Black Flag were the last American band to get played on the radio? Please break the flag, please break the flag. Glitter disco synthesizer night school on this noble savage drum. Astronauts go back in time to hang out with the cave. It's about time, it's about space, it's about some people in strange place. Woody Guthrie sang about B-E-E-T-S, not B-E-A-T-S.
The facts we hate. You'll never hear us. I hear the radio is finally going to play new music. The British invasion. But what about the Minutemen, Flesh Eaters, DOA, Big Boys, and the Black Flag? Well, the last American band to get played on the radio. Please bring the flag. Please bring the flag. Glitter, disco, synthesizer, night school. All this noble, savage drum. Astronauts go back in time to hang out with the cave people. It's about time. It's about space. It's about some people in the strangest places. Woody Guthrie sang about B-E-E-T-S, not B-E-A-T-S. And I did look up this song from Woody Guthrie because I know a little bit about him. He's this old beatnik, but the song's called Pastures of Plenty. And the lyric is, dig the beets from your ground, cut the grapes from your vine. And how that made it in this song, I'm trying to connect the dots here. This is incredible. What's happening here in verse 3?
Well, the first part of it goes back to the first verse. So the facts we hate, but then it goes to a whole different thing. So it's about, again, not hearing us and other people. Okay, so I made a funny joke about the British invasion, like that's new, because when I grew up, the British invasion superseded and took over American music.
Yeah.
You know, you had Buddy Holly and Carl Perkins and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden the Beatles and the Dick Clark Five, and there goes American music over to England. And all of a sudden it's only English music that people like, right? So I was referring to the fact that like stations like K-Rock would only play like that new romantic type stuff, like the Flock of Seagulls and Duran Duran. Like, so the punk bands couldn't get on the radio in LA, but the English bands could. It's like, why don't you play the local bands? You're a local radio station. I don't know why. Here's the weird thing about this song. I still to this day have no idea why I chose those bands to sing about. Because those weren't the bands, like, except for the big boys. I picked the hardcore bands. I picked all the hardcore skate bands and dark bands. I didn't pick the Plugs and the Weirdos and the Screamers. And I don't know why I didn't pick the bands that I really loved and listened to. And I picked the hardcore bands. And I think I was just trying to throw real contrast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got like, let's say you've got Duran Duran and you've got Circle Jerks or the Black Flag. They're so completely different.
Sure.
So I think I was just I was trying to be extremist. So I don't know why I did that. Of course, those bands weren't going to be on the radio.
What about the lyric, glitter disco synthesizer night school? It sounds like a alt band from the 90s.
Well, you're throwing in together like all the superficial, fun, cocaine snorting kind of musical experience as opposed to the grassroots kind of punk thing, which was just people, you know, doing things organically and being in a crowd of misfits. Like we didn't belong in the glitter disco synthesizer night school.
The line, I hear the radio is finally going to play new music, you know, the British invasion. Is that John saying that part?
Yeah.
I love that part because it reminds me of the delivery of something Fred Schneider would do. And B-52s were starting out about that time. I'm not suggesting that John was mimicking Fred, but it kind of jumped out at me very, very B-52s, that line. And I also love Exene on British invasion. When John says that, the delay gets really big. It's kind of big on his voice for the whole thing, but on British invasion, it gets really, really big to emphasize that. Did you recall that being talked about? It's really funny.
No, that sounds to me more like a Ray thing. The Ray having fun. Yeah.
Ray having fun. Awesome. Well, again, we get some lines that are sung just by Exene here. Around Please Bring the Flag, around those lines, the band intensity starts to ramp up slowly all the way up to chorus 3. And I love this verse because, again, I can feel that this wasn't done to a click. You can feel the drums ramping up and the band intensity getting bigger.
Okay, so the last American band to get played on the radio, Please Bring the Flag, is a reference to a bumper sticker at that time, which was something about, I can't remember the country. There was a little political thing. It was the last American to leave someplace, please turn out the lights. Please turn off the lights. Like the last one out of the bathroom, please turn off the light. Last one out of the room, please turn off the lights.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that, and I don't remember exactly what it referred to, but the last American band to be played ever, Please Bring the Flag. I was very much into American music. I was not into the English punk bands as much. I was, when I was a kid, I liked the Beatles and all that stuff, but I really felt that the American music scene was being really, ignored. And it reminded me so much of when I was a kid with the British invasion, which I didn't even realize because when I was a kid, I didn't know who Buddy Holly was. I just knew who the Beatles were because I was little,
Yeah.
and so I didn't understand how that had supplanted American music. And it was happening again in my world. I didn't like it. I wanted the American bands to be on the radio with the English bands alongside them. And I still don't understand the division. Why is there a division between English and American music? Why is there a division between the, South American or the Central American faction? Why is this always like, you can have this, but you can't have that. You can be this, but you can't be that. We favor this group over your group, and you'll just have to suffer and fight. We had to fight like a civil war to get on the radio, and we never could, so that's why that reflects the same part of, the same mentality as the rest of the song.
When I read lyrics like this and I read all the different thoughts and everything you threw into the pot to create this, I truly realize that I myself, like a lot of other people, are lyricists, and then there's people that are poets. And this is poetry. I can't write like this. And I'm not saying that because you're in front of me and you're here. I've said this to other artists that have been on the show that write from this type of thought process. It's poetry. It's when you read poetry, I mean, it could be pulling from so many different places that lyrics sometimes are just a little bit more straightforward. They kind of just, they don't have to be, but a lot of times they're more straightforward. And the poetry here is incredible.
There was a lot of, I loved disco when I was a teenager because it was actually, that music is, you might know this. Play a disco bass line on bass and see if you can play that. That was hard. Those people
Funky.
were great musicians. That was not all fake music. That was real people. And that music was so great. And when I was a teenager, we'd go to the gay bars and dance, and it was just so much fun. So I'm not putting down disco. I still love disco, the real disco music. But I was also drawing another parallel between Woody Guthrie and the idea that music was all about beats and hedonism and sex and that kind of stuff. Because I love Woody Guthrie, and I just came up with that line, beats versus beats, the kind you eat versus the kind you play. Again, it's another admonition. I'm kind of like a school teacher in this song. And another thing, we're supposed to like beats, not beats, because Woody Guthrie is a really important American artist. And by the way, how come American artists aren't being played on the radio? So I'm kind of having that school marmish kind of mentality. Very pro-American on this song, I guess, in a way, at least the culture, if not, not the taxes.
Now, when people come up to you and talk about your lyrics for a song like this, have they ever told you what it means to them? Because that's what you get a lot.
I love that.
That's awesome, right? It's the best feeling.
Yeah.
But how could this be about them? Well,
it's about them.
Yeah, besides the fact that, you mentioned, we were giving back, and if we stop paying for the wars and whatnot, but for just a casual listener, this is a lot to unpack.
Yes, I guess that's why the chorus is kind of a break. Just don't worry about it. It's okay. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. And then it's and another thing I need you to think about. Yeah, but everybody has different interpretations of lyrics, and I love hearing what people think because sometimes it adds another meaning, and I had no idea that that anyone would think that. That's really cool,
You just said it. You said, maybe that's why the chorus is just what it is. There's not any more information, because how much more info could you get packed into this tune? I think the chorus had to be simplified a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. Well, chorus 3. Same lyric. I must not think bad thoughts. Those stereo guitars come back in for chorus 3, nice and loud. On the last line, though, something changes here. That drum cymbal thing happens again, but at the end, the drums continue with the bass run. The bass run isn't by itself that time. And then we get into verse 4. The guitars are the biggest they've been so far in any verse in the song, and the drums are rocking nice and loud here. Super cool open hi-hat.
I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. I must not think bad thoughts. The facts we hate will never meet. Walking down the road, everybody else hurry up. But I'm waiting for you. I must go slow. I must not think bad thoughts. When is this world coming to? Both sides are right, but both sides murder. I give up. What can be? I must not.
And verse 4 is the same lyrics configuration as verse 1. Let's talk about that a little bit, Exene. You got to this point, we just said the chorus has to be a little simplified because there's so much information. Was there anything written for verse 4 besides this, or you decided you wanted to go back and hit this again?
John always encouraged me to not be a lazy writer. And a lot of my songs, the third verse is the same as the first verse.
That's okay. I like that.
I do that all the time. And he's like, well, why don't you come up with a different verse there? And sometimes it haunts me to this day. It's like, yeah, why didn't I? But I just had to repeat that verse again. I do that so much. Why do I do that? But I think it's because now that I'm a much better singer and I understand my own songs more, I love the idea of singing a first verse one way and then doing it again in a completely different style or voice or a different intent. Because a lot of our lyrics, as you pointed out, have a lot of deep meaning, and you can skew the meaning in a different direction to end the song with an ironic twist or whatever. But I think because that's the essence of the song, the first verse really says it all. So you're bringing it back to what we were trying to say all along, which is we can't go any farther unless we all go together. And this song kind of is circular thinking in a way, like we're all going to end up in the same spot. So let's just not think about it. Let's just end it. Okay, we figured it out. It's like this. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's just stop.
Well, verse 4 is different from verse 1 on the lines, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. You go back and forth. You sing the first hurry up. You're both in the second one. It doesn't happen in the first verse. And I love those little nuances. Chorus 4, right off the heels of verse 4, same thing again, 3 times in a row. I must not think bad thoughts. The kick and cymbal with a little bass run happens by itself there at chorus 4. And then we get into the outro. This is 43 seconds. It's from the 3:27 mark to the 4:10 mark of the track. 43 seconds of the song. The guitar is playing a really playful variation of the arpeggiated figure, and the drums and bass build with intensity throughout this outro. Another guitar is doing this noodly, kind of like spaghetti western lick. It's awesome. And there is what sounds like glasses clinking, voices talking, and somebody whistling during this part.
That's John. I don't know why he put that in there. I'll just give him some artistic head there. Whatever. Yeah, he did that.
Okay, he did the whistling. Are those glasses clinking, or what is that?
Yeah, he's clinking glasses. He wanted it to be like a party at the end.
That's what it sounds like, which now I was completely, and I still think the part's awesome. I was completely fine with that part in context, but now that I know what you're singing about, it seems a little odd to be celebrating at the end of this, or no?
I don't know. I don't get it. It's just something he threw in there, and you know what? It makes sense. It makes sense that it's there.
And again, I wrote the drumming here is just A+. And before we break, I have to give a shout out. You have the 4 original members of the band still touring. That's incredible.
It is incredible. And you know what? That's called luck. That's just luck because a lot of us are not here anymore.
Yeah.
And that's luck too.
That's great. Well, before we break, anything else you'd like to talk about what you got coming up with X?
Well, no, but thank you for taking me through that song like that, because I really am proud of that song, and I really am glad you like it and that you understand it and that we can elaborate on it. And I hope that means something to the people listening. We're touring till the end of the year. We're just playing and playing and playing. And, our record came out last month.
That's right. Smoke and Fiction.
Yeah, Smoke and Fiction, which, we did a record called Alphabet Land, and it came out right when the pandemic started. So it kind of derailed the whole scheduled release and the tour and everything. And if COVID hadn't happened, I bet that would have been our last record, because we'd have been like, okay, we made a record. We said we never would. We toured. It was great. So we're going to have to make another record now. So we did. And I love this record, Smoke and Fiction. It's the one, the last 2 records I'm most happy with, just because we've come so far as a band, vocally and musically. And I think the songs are really good. And, some people say your first record is always your best record. It's the most important record. And I always wanted to put the lie to that. You got to get better as you go. You have to. Even if your first record is groundbreaking or whatever, your last record should be your best record. So I think we did that. And but we're going to keep playing until we can't anymore. We're tired of the van tours. They're grueling, as you know. So I think what we're going to do is hopefully we'll still be able to play a show here and there. I don't know. We have Little Stevie's Garage Rock Cruise coming up in May, which I'm super excited about.
That's awesome.
Because Mark Lindsay from Paul Revere and the Raiders, a real American band, is going to be on that tour. And I can't wait to see him because that was like my favorite band growing up. And I just think those cruises, if you haven't been on one, don't be afraid because it's a cruise, because it's a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited about that. And so, we'll kind of like do things a day at a time and live in the moment, but also look forward to a lot of stuff still to do.
Sounds good. Well, Exene, thank you so much for carving out some time for us here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you asking me.
Hey everybody, the song you're hearing right now is Ruby Church from X's new album, Smoke and Fiction, so make sure you check that out. And don't go anywhere, we got lots more Krista Makes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
We have one more act for you this evening. I don't even need to say his name. Mr. Bob Dylan.
From the director of Walk the Line and Ford vs. Ferrari.
If anyone is going to hold your attention on stage, you have to kind of be a freak.
And starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan.
Are you a freak?
Hope so.
Once upon a time, you're just so fine.
Inspired by the true story.
I want to know which side he's on.
This Christmas.
They just want me singing Blowing in the Wind for the rest of my life.
Bobby, what do you want to be?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
He defied everyone.
Turn it down!
Play loud!
To change everything.
He's our Elvis.
With no direction.
Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton, Elle Fanning, Monica Barbaro.
Make some noise, BD. Track some mud on the carpet.
A complete unknown. Only in theaters Christmas Day. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent.
Shop Blinds.com Cyber Monday sales event now for some of the best deals of the season. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 50% site-wide, plus doorbusters and a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The holiday season officially starts when you get that first card in the mail. Shutterfly makes it easy to add more meaning to the everyday with hundreds of holiday card designs that can be personalized in seconds with your favorite photos from this year. Select your greeting, customize the color, and even add little extras like personalized foil to make a holiday card that really shines. Enjoy 40% off with code SMILE40 at Shutterfly.com and send something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
One Hit Thunder is a podcast where we both celebrate and have a good laugh about bands and artists that had just one hit that we all know. Each week, we're joined by a guest from the world of music or comedy to learn more than you ever thought you would about some songs that you can't forget. And we decide if they brought the One Hit Thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit blunder. Look, if you listen to the show, you're probably going to laugh, and I guarantee you're going to crush next time the bar has music trivia. Tag Team, Jane Child, Meredith Brooks, Looking Glass, Sean Mullins, Eiffel 65, EMF, Crash Test Dummies, Crazy Town, Chumbawamba. We have hundreds of episodes in our back catalog and a new episode each week, so pass the Dutchie, make sure you're connected, and subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your pods.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Krista Makes a Podcast, email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Whiskey Mountain, an alt-punk four-piece hailing from Nampa, Idaho, featuring Randy King on vocals and guitar, Charles Long on bass and vocals, Oscar Cupp on drums, and Matt Christian on lead guitar and vocals. Their debut album is called It Felt Like Fun. Here's a snippet of their song, Alaska.
Confess her feelings. Matthew was the type to defend his dealing. Kelsey was the type to act up pregnant. No hope. She's got me holding on to something there. She's got me holding up for hope. I wanna walk
Chris and Chris.
Chris, I thought this episode was awesome. It's always so cool to have a punk rock pioneer on our show. And I also thought her definition of punk rock was probably the coolest one I've ever heard. Because when I think of punk rock, and probably most of our listeners, we're thinking about a certain sound of the guitars and like the punk rock drum beat and stuff. But there was a time where punk rock meant just doing whatever you wanted and being as eclectic as you want, and everything, like she said, everything fit in.
It's interesting she mentioned Woody Guthrie, because beatniks were kind of like the precursor to punks, from what I understand. I don't know exactly. They were the poets. They were the starving artists. They might like to dabble in recreational substances a little bit. And I'm the same way as you. And she was mentioning all that because, again, punk rock to me is some guy with glass in his forehead, bleeding, screaming at you, 180 beats per minute. But I was like, you guys are a little bit of all this. And she's like, yeah, we're an amalgamation of everything. That's punk rock. Pretty cool.
And that goes right along with the fact that Ray Manzarek produced their a whole bunch of albums for them, right? Like the first 4 or 5 albums?
Their first 4 records. And I was tiptoeing around how to say this, but what I wanted to say to Exene was, as a punk, it couldn't have been more uncool in my head to work with someone from the Doors, because they were dinosaurs at that point, but that wasn't the thought here. She's like, no, we all thought it was cool.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going back to her original definition of punk rock, I mean, some of the things that the Doors did were pretty punk, right? They were pretty outrageous and controversial, and I don't know, it kind of makes sense when you look at it that way.
Yeah, and I had said to her, I said, and I never really phrased it like this, there's a difference between lyricists and poets. And, she was talking about 5, 6, 7 different things within a verse here. Like, how did her head go there? How do some of these lyricists, we talked to David Paich about Africa. He's like, oh, the Serengeti is this and that. How did you, where does this come from? How do you channel that? And I say it, I'm like a wide-eyed kid Christmas morning. Like, I'm fascinated. You know what I'm saying, Chris? Like, how did you come up with this?
Right. It's it seems to me like a very stream of consciousness type song. And I think it goes along with the fact that the song is called I Must Not Think Bad Thoughts, because I think the lyrics illustrate that she's thinking so many thoughts. Mm-hmm. And how could you not think bad thoughts when you have all these bad things in the world? Then she's relating it to, I thought it was cool. She related it. The next verse, she's talking about why are they playing these British bands on the radio when you have great bands right here? There are just so many thoughts in her head. And I thought it was cool that she said, yeah, you can think about these things, but you can't let them like overwhelm you. You can't only think about these things.
Yeah. And something else that I just found awesome that she said, it was so cool. Here's a band that's been together, 77 till now, 48 years. They've been together almost 48 years. And it sounds like there's a lot of acceptance going on within their band. They still have the same 4 original members. And the outro of the song, when I mentioned, like, what is this part? Glasses clinking. She's like, oh, that's John. Whatever, And they were romantically involved years ago. So think about that. They were romantically involved. They're in the same band. She knows this guy, what he's going to say before he says it, and vice versa. And she just accepts that, yeah, that was John's idea. I don't know how it fits in the song, but it fits perfectly, she said.
Yeah. And hey, that sounding like there's a party going on or whatever. How many bands have then gone on to do that? Think about Weezer in the Sweater song. Yeah. That song starts with like sounding like people are at a party, So, pioneering once again. And dude, could you imagine remembering all these lyrics and also remembering who sings what line when you're trading off so many vocals?
Well, that and the fact that they're still figuring that out. She said that they're, 40 right. Odd years later, they're still trying to figure out the best way to finesse this and bring it across live. I love that. And I also love that they never played the song before they recorded it. They didn't want to, for whatever reason. This song wasn't one they wanted to share with their audience. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're all used to that now, not playing a song live before we record it, right? So
that's right.
As far as that trading off the vocals and stuff too, you laughed about it, but He said it sure pays off later when you don't have to sing for like an extended period of time and you can catch your breath for a second, right?
Things you don't think about in the vocal booth, but that pay off for you later. Exactly.
Happy accident right there.
Happy accidents. And hey, keep those 5-star reviews coming on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We love them. They help us. People stumble across them and they read your reviews about Chris DeMakes a Podcast and they want to check it out. Hey, Chris, you got a review ready for us?
Yeah, man, you really went breakneck speed into the reviews today. I like it. Yeah, you were like, boom, where's the review? I got one for you. This one comes from, this has to be a Less Than Jake fan, because this one's from Pez God X. Do you like that your band is so associated with Pez?
I don't know if I like it, but I I think
it's cool.
Like Exene accepted John's party at the end of the song. I've accepted it.
You accept the Pez. Okay, well, this is from Pez God X that gave us 5 stars and said, great pod about songwriting. I love that this pod takes different songwriters in different genres and breaks down the writing of either the guest's biggest hit or fan favorite. The detail in the interview is amazing and great to know what people were thinking when they wrote their songs. It's the first thing I listen to on Mondays, and the bonus episodes are also a great touch. That is an awesome review, and I believe that Pez God is talking about the after party, Chris.
Yes, and if you want to check out the after party, first of all, thanks a lot, Pez God. But if you want to check out the after party, go to ChrisDeMakes.com, where you can get bonus episodes of Chris and I talking at you even more than we do now. ChrisDeMakes.com. And was my segue too quick before, Chris? Do I have to do it again?
No, I think you did great. I was just wondering to myself if it's Pez God X is Pez God 10 or if it's Pez God is straight edge. I don't know which one it is. I think it would be X. It would be X Pez God X if Pez God was straight edge. So it must be Pez God 10.
Pez God 10X, whatever you are, please write us on our Facebook group, which I was just going to segue into that. We got a Facebook group. Go join it. We also have an Instagram page, Chris DeMakes a Podcast Instagram page, where Chris puts up fantastic videos. And I think that's about it. Want to thank this week's guest, Miss Exene Cervenka, for sitting in with us, and we'll catch you next week. Hey friends, have you been loving Chris DeMakes a Podcast? Well, spread the love by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't hesitate to share what you enjoy about the show in an actual written review on Apple Podcasts. Not only does it help more people discover us, but we often read reviews in the wrap segment of the show. It's a quick, cost-free way to support us and takes just a minute of your time. Your reviews mean the world to us and help us keep the podcast thriving. Thank you for being a listener, and thank you for being a friend.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun, Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Tom May here, host of Future Friday. I've spent the last 15 years on the road with my band, The Menzingers, where I've met all kinds of wild and fascinating people. So I started a podcast. On Future Friday, I talk to fellow musicians about the moments that made them, their passions outside of music, and the curiosities that tie us all together. I've also talked to the likes of UFO researchers, magicians, soldiers, and documentary filmmakers, and I'm constantly searching for folks that can shape and change our view of the world. You can check out Future Friday wherever you like.